Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and happy Monday. This is Brown Bag Bets, your daily dose of quick hit handicapping and sports betting picks. We are powered by BetSperts. Make sure, folks, that you take the opportunity to look at some of the links that we've got just about everywhere to use that win sign up. With fantastic opportunity to bet some football. How'd you do this weekend, Andy? Are you excited for the playoffs?
Yeah, live betting kind of saved my butt. That's been a theme this year. Second halves, it's funny how we bet all the second halves of the primetime games, but not all those are the best plus EV. Those are just how we forced ourselves into it. But once in a while there's some good halftime lines, there's some good live lines, and God bless. I mean, Raiders live overs, Raiders anything have been real good this year. That one looked like it was a little sketchy, and then they scored a bunch late. I almost got in on some other live ones that I avoided, which usually I try to keep track of those about a wash, but the Packers kind of befuddled me. I ended up live on them, and they rewarded me. You can never go wrong backing the MVP, I guess. So NFL went good. It's kind of cool how we're going to have 6 games coming up this weekend. So all the lines were a little slow. In fact, one offshore operator decided to open up lines that didn't exist. They didn't have the right matchups when they first popped up. So there was, and the best part was people were betting into them. There was an opener on, it was Baltimore over Indy, and it opened Baltimore -3. Well, Indy plays at Buffalo, and Baltimore will be playing at Tennessee. So that's not a game that exists. But that was my favorite part, was that not only did they put it up, but people were betting into it. So
try to bet games that exist, people. Try to focus on that.
Yeah. So it did crack me up that people were actually betting into a market that didn't actually exist. But I took a little bit of action on a couple places. A lot of people disagree with the Buffalo look. I've seen some smart people saying it's too much for Indy. I don't traditionally use my power numbers all that close. When we get into the postseason, it gets a little trickier. You can't just use your numbers. And I guess I do that during the regular season too when it comes to the Chargers. So it's much like betting the playoffs is betting than the Chargers. You can't always trust your numbers, and you got to get into some goofy stuff there. So you had a play, though. I don't have anything super official yet. I'm going to dig into these totals today. Probably have some stuff. We'll obviously do our Wednesday live stream. What did you land on?
Couple plays I was looking at. Jumped in last night. Was able to get a Ravens. My man is 2.5 myself, but that's gone just about everywhere. The one play I did land on that's still up and actually got a little bit better since I took it this morning. I like the Redskins in this spot against Tampa Bay. They're at home. They're hosting Tampa Brady. I grabbed +8. I'm actually seeing an 8.5 pop here. Fingers crossed. Maybe it gets back to 9. I might take a little bit more, but I make this game right about a touchdown. So anything over 7 for me is a pretty solid number. I really like the matchup. What we know that Tom Brady really struggles against a strong pass rush. I think that Washington has all the guys here to put the pressure on Tom to get pressure up the middle, specifically over the top of the center and the guards, where he really struggles the most. I also think that it's going to be a close defensive game. I don't see how either team is going to put up a lot of points here. So happy to grab the dog at a solid number. I think Washington will be able to score just enough to keep this inside the number. And I think we'll see an ugly kind of low scoring game here. What do you think, Andy?
Yeah, and not only that, it's, if Tampa is winning handily by a possession or two and we do get to garbage time, teams don't quit in the playoff. There's not usually a lot of quit. Not like we saw last night. So it'll be interesting to see how the end of the game goes with a team like that. I'm not sure they're a quick strike scoring team, but yeah, something that's been brought up, Drew brought it up yesterday, and we've kind of been discussing it a little bit, was Brady's like 0-7 in his last few primetime games. This will be we don't know. It's probably not signal. It's not a big sample size, but Brady in primetime hasn't been great. It's not like he hasn't played in cold weather cities. So, it's like, oh, Tampa has to go to a cold weather city. Well, he played in Foxborough for the better part of 2 decades, so he'll be fine. But I don't know that there's signal to that, but there has been a weird kind of trend where he's not winning. He's not covering any of these late games. And maybe there's somebody in the chat.
That's old. What I was going to say.
Like he's just super, super old. Old people go to bed after Matlock. So be interesting to see how that one goes. I was a little surprised at the schedule. The fact that they put Indy, Buffalo, and Baltimore, Tennessee as the noon games on Saturday and Sunday. I thought those are some of the best matchups. Those are fun games between some exciting young players, and they're going to put those early. And instead, we're going to get Ben Roethlisberger and Alex Smith in the late night games. I guess Tampa's a draw.
Yeah.
But Cleveland, Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh would draw. Pittsburgh would draw too. That game has to be at nighttime. I would have put Rams Seahawks as the night game for Saturday. I think that's the best game on Saturday.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see, what the numbers look like on some of those. It is a division game, and it's the third time the teams will play. So I guess it's something. But yeah, later in the week, get into more NFL. I'll probably have some more stuff to go with basically a little position right now on the Bills, and that's it. But I do have a basketball game, I bet, today. College basketball.
Ooh.
Very small slate on Mondays. Saturdays are big. Sundays are okay. Once we get into the regular season, I think we're going to be in a normal position like this where we have these garbage Monday slates where we have like 14 games. 8 of them are extra games. You can't even bet last night. That's why I didn't put anything out last night. I couldn't get down on Hampton at most places. So I did play some Hampton +5. The Hampton Pirates will be playing another Highlanders team in Radford. Divisional conference games are kind of starting up. I'll probably have some more volume going forward. Radford just doesn't score. Like the total, I should check what the total is in this, but I'm guessing the total's fairly low. Hampton's defense hasn't been great this year. They're giving up more than they're scoring. That's never a good spot. That's why they're a dog. But Radford's, I think they're averaging like 64 points a game. They're just not getting it done. I worry about my team shooting free throws. Hopefully, as a dog, that's not the position they're getting put in late. As if they're ahead, I guess I don't care if they lose by a couple points as long as they keep it within here. This game is at what time today? This is an evening game. This is 7 p.m. tonight. But yeah, the total's at 135. It looks like this number has gotten beat up a little. You can still sign some 4s. Honestly, I'd still play this at 4. I don't hate that at all. So Hampton Pirates, they have four scores, double digits. They just need to get their points. Because I think Radford will take care of the rest as far as not being able to get on the board. I actually don't mind this under a little. So Hampton, Patrick stayed at their ends. And then kind of back to the NFL, this is something too. I touched on it a little last night on the podcast. And if Evans is hurt, this makes Alex's play even better. And I think the number probably doesn't have that baked in. It is a little interesting that they decided to do, how they scheduled some of these games. So they didn't do a service. What's the opposite of a disservice? I suppose it's just a service. So Tampa having to play Saturday is one fewer days for Evans to heal up, if that's a thing. And as we all expected, because we found out that Kamara would be ineligible to play Saturday, but eligible to play Sunday, the Saints will play on Sunday. So they know where their bread's buttered. Maybe that had something to do with it. And a couple of people are bringing up teasers. I think we'll probably get into some teasers late in the week. I don't tease in week 17, but I sure shit do it in the playoffs.
We'll definitely get into some of that. Like your Hampton pick there. Again, make sure you follow us on the BetSperts app. You would have had a chance to get Hampton +5.5. It's a good thing that you still like it down to 4. But make sure you follow us again on the BetSperts app. Andy's Andy, myself, Alex Christensen with no space there, so you can get all these picks as early as possible.
Especially, that's a 6-digit rotation number. That's not on the main board. That's an extra game. If a few other people bet that, those numbers can move pretty quick because it's a smaller market, not a lot of liquidity. But a bigger liquid market, which still moves a lot early in the season, is the NBA. You've got a shitload of that today.
We do. We've got a bunch of basketball games. I've got 3 picks that I like. It's kind of a hold your nose day. Before we get started, I'll let you know I've got 1 big underdog and 2 unders. So, first up, this actually I put in yesterday, the Golden State Warriors against the Sacramento Kings. I've got an under there. The number I'm looking at is under 233. I like this down to under 231. I think we're getting some value here. Golden State has played at a really torrid pace to start the season. Depending on where you look, they are top or top 2 basically basically in the league in pace. I think that we're getting some value here on this total because as Draymond Green comes back, I expect this pace to come back down. I think that their defensive efficiency will step up. I think you'll see the offense take their time and hold the ball a little bit more on the other end of the floor. So I think we're getting some value now before we see some adjustments there for Draymond Green coming back. I also, with the matchup against Sacramento, you would think with De'Aaron Fox, it's a team that wants to play really fast. They don't. They're in the bottom. I think they're one of the 10 slowest teams in the NBA so far to start this year. So I think this is a really nice spot. Grabbing the under there. Wait, all right. I'm just looking at your banner right now.
Oh, shoot. I wrote it wrong.
You did. It's under and it's 233, 223. All right, folks. So sorry for that.
That's on this.
This is why it's good to listen to the podcast, folks.
Oh my God.
This is available for podcast immediately afterwards.
You know what?
There you go. Awesome.
If you could play under 233 and over 223, I guess I would do that.
That would be a bad middle, especially if you get the over 223 at minus 110. But don't lay the juice there just to open that up. So again, there's a lot of factors for me here that when I start to look at this, I think the market is maybe overstating things a little bit here, maybe overreacting and to the start of the season for Golden State and underreacting a little bit to Draymond. So going to take an under here. The next pick I have up, it's another under. And this one's really tough because I'm taking under in a Houston Rockets game. They're playing the Dallas Mavericks tonight. I've got under 228 here. And again, it's really tough to, think of yourself as, betting the under in Houston Rockets games, a team that generally likes to play very quickly, a team that likes to put up, a lot of three-pointers. That's not how they played this year. They've been kind of middle of the road from a pace perspective. The offense efficiency is a little bit down, and the defense has actually been better than in past years. As I start to take a look at Dallas, they've been an incredibly underperforming team, and I think we'll continue to see that tonight. They've struggled to score a lot of points, and this is another line where when I start to look at this price, it seems that this is price based on Luka Doncic playing. He's day to day, and if he drops out, this number should drop like a rock. So happy to get in here at this price, even if he is playing. If he's not playing, I think there's a chance for a lot more value, obviously, especially as he steps out. So another spot for an under there. And then my final play is an underdog play. And before I jump into that, we had a question here for the stream about kind of home court and home field advantage and stuff. And one of the reasons I am playing this here, I like the Oklahoma City Thunder +9 against Miami here. As I start to look at that number, it seems like the market is still building in some home court advantage for Miami, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. I mean, you don't have the same thing in terms of people going out. Obviously, a lot of the clubs and things are closed down. There's no fans. So before I jump maybe into that handicap, Andy, what have you seen this season in terms of your NFL plays and things, and maybe even from a college basketball perspective? Do you see the market still building home field, home court in, and do you think maybe that's a bad idea?
Yeah, I'm not sure how much it's built in because it's hard to judge how much they've switched just over one season or two, or however you want to say. It's like, is this a bad number for the home team, or is it like, are they building it in? You can't just go up to the bookmaker and ask, like, how much of this is based on power rankings and how much do you built in? So it's tricky, but I know how I've adjusted. I know how other people have adjusted. And I think I know how enough people who actually have some influence in the market have adjusted. So it's gone. It's gone in a lot of places. Like when you have nobody in a gym, I don't think we have a big enough sample. I ran numbers, and I said I ran this a while ago. I looked at it. I said, our home team's winning at a bigger clip. I pulled last year's, percentages. I pulled this year's percentages, and it was way goofy. And then you look and you realize the chunk of the sample that I have for this year and I've mentioned this, it's a bunch of games where you've played Division I teams against Lady of the Lake and Carver College and St. Louis School of Pharmacy Medicine. So the fact that none of those teams are ever going to host my games. So I don't have a good sample without washing those out. I got to get to a point where I can wash all those out, I guess, and see what actually have at, a Division I versus Division I team, because the home teams are going to win at a much higher clip at the beginning of the season when they're playing games like this. So I've washed it out quite a bit. I think whistles are going to be different in both basketball, pro and college, because you don't have to worry about calling, like a foul on the home team and having the whole crowd come down on you. Like you're just gonna get yelled at by a few players. You're always gonna get yelled at. So I think whistles might be a little more balanced against home teams. So you will lose some of that home whistle. And I think that's important when you're looking at this. So adjust accordingly. I've adjusted down in every sport I've done. I've adjusted down in football, certainly, and in college basketball.
Yeah, I've got it almost completely washed out. Now, while you were talking, I was looking for a tweet. If I could find it, we'll share it on the Brown Bag Bets Twitter account at Brown Bag Bets. I think Drew shared it with us in one of the chats. Basically, road teams have been playing better than expected. There's actually a road advantage, it looks like, this year in the NBA so far. So, yeah, I think that, if you're modeling, if you're looking at prices, I think you can tick those things all the way down to zero. There are a couple spots in the NBA, Denver and Utah specifically, where they have an elevation advantage. But you can look at that more of like a rest fatigue thing as opposed to a true home court advantage. But yeah, I've got it ticked down to just about zero here, which, again, is one of the reasons that I do like Oklahoma City here +9 against Miami. I think that, again, there's still a little bit of value in this number for some reason for Miami being at home. I don't understand, based on what I've seen from a net ratings perspective, from an offensive efficiency perspective. And, we only have probably 6-7 games at this point for each team, but it's enough to start looking and putting things together. I think this is going to be a tough, ugly basketball game. Oklahoma City has played very, very tight games. Even in games where, they're down late, they fight to come back. This team is really focused and trying their hardest, which, I know is kind of a qualitative thing. When you go back, you see it in some of the numbers. You start to go back and look at some of their games. They really do close it and have stayed within the number this year. So happy to take the 9 points with Oklahoma City here. I think that they have a chance to be tough and keep it close within the number here against Miami.
I like it. Yeah, a decent amount of basketball. That's it's always fun. And then, a couple news items as we close out the show here. Not a lot, dudes. We don't have Monday Night Football anymore. I think we're going to bring more guests on here because we don't have Monday night teed up some talking points about first touchdown scores or just football in general. We don't have Thursday night anymore. We're going to have plenty of basketball. Obviously, we'll get to hockey here soon. But, yeah, definitely going to have to get some more guests in to talk with us.
Before you jump into news,
Anthony Lynn got fired.
Aw, I guess that was meant to have happened. I mean, wasn't that supposed to happen last year?
Yeah, I mean, it could have happened for a couple of years, but it was one of those things where we had the Anthony Lynn is scheduled to have a meeting with the brass today. Like that came out yesterday. It's like, well, they don't usually have those meetings after seasons like this to give the guy a raise. So
right,
interesting. And then this a-hole. I'm just kidding, Nicholas. You're probably nice. I'm sorry we didn't answer your question immediately. There are lots of stuff going on while we're trying to run a show. But yeah, I mean, it literally on the BetSperts app that this is powered by. That's literally what the app does: is track every single play I make and tracks how I'm doing over the season. I don't have my long-term records in there, but I have a spreadsheet of all that that's publicly available. Alex has that right on his Twitter too. So before we use our jumping to conclusion mats, I know I'm just giving you a hard time, Nicholas. But I mean, you do bring up a good point. People who don't track their plays, it's usually not a good sign. So
no,
everything on the app, as we mentioned before.
That is the nice part.
In there.
All there. There's lots of good stats. It'll track and let you know. You can look at by pick type. You can look at by sport type. There's also interesting stuff there. And it's nice because we just click and then it all happens by ourselves. It's easier for you guys and easier for us.
Oh, and you know what else is coming up this week? Already golf. It's golf. Tournament of Champions. I'm going to have a golf guest this week. I think we'll have a few different golf guests to go through the year because we could do a golf guest every week. If you guys want some, if you like putting a few bucks on some outrights here and there in golf, or you like some head-to-heads for the full tournament the best part about a head-to-head for a full tournament golf is it's something you can usually get to track and keep track of and switch and, sweat for 4 days or hopefully only sweat for 2 days. So, we're going to do some golf. Obviously, I know a few guys that talk a lot of golf, so we'll have a few people to come on for that. It'll be a lot of fun. And again, with the tracking on the app, if you do want to play some of these small ass basketball college things, you might want to turn on notifications. Like I make these banners and I'm getting ready for the show, and then I pull it up and see it's at 4. Like I felt bad even having that on the banner. So I would play it at 4 if it's still available. There are some 3.5s in the markets now, but
do you know what else is back this week, Andy?
What?
Tennis.
Oh yeah, we will definitely get in some tennis as well.
We do. We've got the women in Abu Dhabi, the men, or at least it's supposed to be an ATP event in Italia, and then Delray Beach, which also seems like that's sort of falling apart. Hopefully, one of our buddies, Ethan, might get a chance to play. What do you think? We'll have to reach out
Delray
to
Beach
the Chamber of Commerce.
So, all right, close her out. Hampton, I changed it to +4. Again, these move so quick, I didn't even pay attention until I pulled up the screen. I'd still play it if you can find a 4. Don't go much less than that. It gets tricky when you get down into the 4 with fouling. For anybody who played the game the other day, I had 5s on that, and my team lost by 4. And it was a pretty good foul shooter that missed a free thrower at the end. So these things balance on free throws at the end sometimes. And then in the NBA or in the NFL, excuse me, the football team +8. You made some good points on that. And look at that. I even changed to 2 unders and a dog. Going very contrarian there. I like that. And the gambling Taylor. That guy cracks me up too. With that, yeah, let's close her out for a Monday. Any final thoughts before we hit the music?
No, that's a great question by Savage Samurai. We'll reach out to GT and maybe see if we can get him on for a few hot minutes of 100 units worth of plays.
I'm not even sure he's a real person. I love him, though.
Well, thanks, everybody, for watching. Thank you for listening. Please click the thumbs up button if you're watching this on YouTube and subscribe. If you're listening to it as a podcast, we'd love a rating or review. Follow us on Twitter at BrownBagBets. Again, I mentioned I'll share that tweet about home court advantage in the NBA there if I can find it. I'm sure I can. And we'll be back tomorrow with even more.